the whole idea of what we do here, we call it contemporary ethnic food. It's food that if, for example, you had this dish in Budapest, you might not find this particular dish made this way, but if someone from Budapest had this dish, they'd say, yeah, I've never seen a dish maybe done that way, but I understand the flavors. You want the flavors to be true to the country of origin. That's why I really don't believe in cross-culturalizing food. The way that we set up dishes at the restaurant, we like it to be a palatable roadmap of the dish's origin. And as you're going along that roadmap, it should not only look clean and beautiful, but it should also, the main thing is it has to be flavorful. So if you can put those two things together, that you can have a clean, beautiful presentation and back it up with you know, food that you basically want to throw your silverware away and put your face into the plate, then you've pretty much you know, gotten to the point where you want to be.
Have you ever been served a plate and thought to yourself, this is just too beautiful to eat? Food that's as pleasing to look at as it is to taste is a work of art unto itself. And we'll have a couple more works of culinary art later in the program. But first, big news from the opera.
Bloody treachery and big emotions are the guts of opera. The Florentine Opera's first world premiere ever mixes passion and politics and betrayal and death. Rio de Sangre, River of Blood, tells of the rise and fall of a Latin American idealist turned dictator. Now, let's meet the composer, Don Davis, and the Milwaukee creative team that will bring Rio de Sangre to life for the very first time this fall, right here in Milwaukee.
What we were looking to do with Rio de Sangre is make a statement about oppression and tyranny and the cycle of oppression that, in particular, the Latin American people have suffered throughout history. The idea of making a central statement around a riot meant that I had an opportunity to write some very extravagant, visceral, kinetic music. I do have the good fortune of being fairly well known as the composer of the Matrix trilogy, but what I really want to be known for is the composer of Rio de Sangre. It's really a culmination of my life's work, and I can't tell you how excited I am.
I received the materials on Rio because it had had a concert performance previously and fell in love with what I heard and the storyline and the whole genesis of the piece. The synergy and the energy between the Florentine and Don for the project just immediately was apparent, and it sort of took off from there. So it's a little bit of a different story than you often hear about new operas being produced and commissioned. When we decided to do this world premiere, and Don had come out to Milwaukee to see our Salome and got to hear the symphony and all of that, I made a conscious decision that the team that we put together should be local, not because they're local, but to point out the fact that we have some world-class people here. And that goes right down the line with our director, Paula Swazi, with our lighting and set designer, Noel Stolmack, who's a member of our company, Simone Farrow from the UWM Dance Department, and Holly Payne from the Rep. These are all fantastic people who are of Milwaukee, but are worthy of doing a world premiere that's going to get recognition beyond our borders.
Another interesting thing about this opera is that many operas that people see take place in the 1600s or take place in history. This is a contemporary opera. It's you know, 1950s-ish, but it's still, that's considered contemporary for opera audiences. So you know, we're presenting visual information on stage which people are going to be able to relate to tangibly, directly, because they've laid their hands on it before. I want people to feel comfortable, excited, you know, enthralled by what they're seeing on stage, but it's opera, and the music's the medium, and everything that we do contributes to the music.
I'm really happily shocked at how wonderfully Paula and Noel are addressing the idea of creating a world that my music can live in. The sets are nothing short of astonishing. And all the ideas that Paula and Noel have come up with are sensational. And I'm really ecstatic to be working with them.
Yeah, they're life-size.
To my mind, in theater and opera, the main thing is that you know, you've got 3,000 people sitting out here who all bring in their own ideas, and they're going to all take away something slightly different. And you have to be willing to let that happen. I think that's you have to, in a way, encourage it. I think that's really important. And that's very different as a director from a film event, because with a film you have a 1-camera shot or 10 cameras, but the director gets to say, this is exactly what I want you to look at, you know, through the way that they shoot the moment. In the theater, we've got, you know, 60 feet by 60 feet and 3,000 different angles. And so it's important to know that everybody's going to be looking in slightly different places, and to allow the story to be bigger than what I only see on the page. For me as a director, to be in charge of a world premiere is a really great opportunity, and it's very exciting, especially in the world of opera, because that is still a huge deal. I'm really thrilled that the Milwaukee and the board and that the Florentine has the guts to do it in these economic times. I think that's a huge, huge thing, and I'm thrilled to be part of it.
I suppose 30 years ago I might have suggested that an opera company outside the mainstream of the Big Five in the US wouldn't be capable of producing an opera of this scope. The world needs to know that you don't have to go to Chicago to hear great opera, that it's right here in Milwaukee. And the artistic renaissance that this town is experiencing is nothing short of breathtaking.
Bento boxes were originally meant for theater goers as a way for restaurants to provide food during intermission to theater goers. Asymmetry is important with Japanese. They tend to work with odd numbers, and this reflects their belief that very little in nature is symmetrical, and they're trying to reflect a natural element when they do their design of food. When we select the items for the bento box, we were thinking as much of color, shapes and textures as we were what the actual food would be. It was as important. Japanese food is some of the most beautiful food presentation in the world. This is in large part because the Japanese feel that you eat with your eyes first, and therefore the beauty of the plating is a large part of how it is going to taste. The way this would actually be served would be like that.
Della Wells tells stories. She tells them in words, but also in paintings and drawings and collages. Meet one of Milwaukee's great ladies.
My name is Della Wells, and I'm a storyteller and I'm an artist. I actually wanted to be a writer, and I was always fascinated with stories. Visually, I think you can tell stories visually too. I think how we dress, we tell a story. How we decorate our house, we tell a story. How we sit down, we tell a story. So we don't necessarily tell stories with just words. The music, you know, we listen to, the music we sing, our culture, we tell stories. So we tell stories in many ways. I seriously started doing art when I was 42. Okay, and I think it's very important. I did it, you know, I dabbled, but I didn't do it seriously until I was 42. And I think the reason for it, I think it's very important for an artist to have something to say. And I didn't have anything to say prior to that. And I create art because I want to tell people stories. The pieces come from different things, okay? Sometimes I have a very definite idea what the piece wants to be, but most of the times I don't. And sometimes I go in with a definite idea and the piece say, no, I want to be this piece. And sometimes it may be a color, it may be the music I'm listening to. It may be something simple as a phone call that may change the piece. It may be a whole host of things that may influence why I do what I do. You know, I'm very interested in how, you know, stories evolve and how we look at things. And I know in my work, one of the things I like, I know what they mean for me. I like my viewers to make up, you know, their own stories with what they think in my work. Because I look at art like this. It's like reading a book. You don't read Stephen King like you read Shakespeare. And you don't have to get it, you don't have to understand it, you don't have to like it. And I think sometimes we in the art world, we forget that. We think, you know, that everybody has to love it, and we think that we're so deep. We're not all the time, I'm sorry. As I work as a collage artist, I play a game myself. I am not allowed to, once I start a collage, I cannot get any new pieces. I have to use what I have. And the only thing I'm allowed to get is glue. If I run out of glue, I can get the glue. So basically, I have to deal with colors, whatever found objects that I have. So if I need something, I have to, you know, figure it out. And that's part of the fun, that's the game. These take, you know, these take longer to do, because you got to make sure that you find the right piece. And to be quite honest with you, it's quicker for me to draw or paint or do a pastel than to do a collage. This story is still evolving, and actually I've been working on this story for 15 years. And I'm not sure where I'm going with her story yet. And she's not sure where she's going, but when she finds out, she'll let me know. She's very strong. But this is a combination of collage, painting, quilting. I have the found objects. And I do know that she's searching and she's collecting. But what she's collecting, I'm not sure yet. And when I figure that out, I know that the piece will be complete. One of the things that's very inspiring me is people overcoming adversity and flying. And I like the fact taking things from nothing. I like taking scraps of paper and magazine clippings and, you know, making them to new things. This is a work of progress. You probably say it's finished, but it's not finished.
The messages she brings are important messages. Della is really one of the stars that we've been fortunate enough to find. And you can see, you know, looking at the art, you can certainly see that it's varied, it's colorful, but it has a message. Each piece has a message, and that's, I think, what makes them remarkable too. They appeal to young people and they appeal to older people. So it's just wonderful. If you want a little piece of magic in your house, it's a great way to get it.
I think being an artist, you have to have a very tough skin. You know, it's okay. You can't take it personally. Everybody's not going to understand it, but that's all right.
Over 1,400 kids come to the Milwaukee Youth Arts Center every week to act, play music, sing, and dance. I first fell in love with MIAC when my son took classes there. It was exciting to return for a visit and learn more about this one-of-a-kind Milwaukee treasure.
The need for the Youth Arts Center was pretty apparent, I think. The Youth Symphony was living up on the top floor of the Marcus Center, and First Stage Children's Theater was living in the basement of the Marcus Center. And we would see each other in the elevator and say, "Are you guys out of space? We're really out of space." All we were looking for initially was more space. We never dreamed that we would have a facility like this one with as many spaces and as much opportunity for kids.
Now, what we really are interested in is not just arts education, but we're also interested in the community. And so we picked this spot on 3rd and Walnut specifically because it enabled us to really gain access to children who normally wouldn't be able to have any access to the arts.
The Milwaukee Youth Arts Center has, I think, been a godsend for us at First Stage. It has allowed our programming to expand. Our First Stage Theater Academy enrollment has doubled since we've been in the building, so we're serving so many more kids than were ever possible before, and able to reach out to even a broader spectrum of young people.
That we really wanted a center that included not just theater and symphonic music, but also dance and singing and other arts groups.
Our partnership with the Milwaukee Youth Arts Center has been great because we are exposed to all kinds of families that normally wouldn't come to DanceWorks. I like to think of Milwaukee Youth Arts Center as one-stop shopping. You may come for one small program, but be exposed to lots of different programs.
With arts education, it tends to break down all the barriers in our society. It breaks down the race barriers, the gender barriers, the geographic barriers, the socioeconomic barriers, age barriers. It breaks them all down. It brings kids together in a positive environment where they're really engaged in doing something that they love to do. It has a very powerfully positive effect on their personality, on their character, and especially on building leadership skills.
When this facility was first built, the Milwaukee Children's Choir was so excited to be a part of this and to be able to rehearse in such a beautiful rehearsal facility. We see our littlest ones and our most advanced singers learning from each other, watching each other. The older kids get a big kick out of watching the younger kids, and they serve as mentors.
You walk in the building and there's energy, there's a great spirit. And no matter who you are or what you do or where you've been, you come into this facility and you are participating in some performing art form. It has allowed MISO specifically to expand its programming and expand to thousands of other students what we were not able to do before because we weren't in this beautiful facility.
I would say that almost no other city in the nation has a center as unique as this. There are other centers where arts groups do collaborate, or there are schools that have multidisciplinary arts groups. But the unique vision between First Stage and MISO for the Milwaukee Youth Arts Center is truly nationally unique.
They walk in the building, they immediately know that it's business. It's not all business, it's fun, but it's business, and it gives you the air of discipline and teaching you the discipline that the arts teach.
I think everybody who is in this facility is very committed to making arts education available to anyone who comes to their door. And every group that's here has gone way beyond what we might have anticipated in terms of offering scholarship assistance. And our goal is to make the very well documented benefits of arts education available to every child.
In today's world, there's a lot of doom and gloom, especially in Milwaukee, about the status of arts education in the public schools. And a lot of people have a lot of fear around that issue. But Fran and I are totally inspired by what's happening here. There's no lack of arts education. And we believe that the future of arts education, whether it's in public schools or whether in centers like this, will continue to grow. I believe that whether it's through renovating and expanding our own building, whether it's starting satellites around the city or around the state, that there is only a great future for arts education in Wisconsin.
You know, presentation is important, but before presentation there has to be taste. But if food doesn't look good, people don't want to eat it, so they're not going to go in to find out if it tastes good. So you have to make something look visually stimulating. You have to make it look like, oh, that looks great. And then once they get in there and if it tastes great, even better, you hit a home run, and they still remember what that dish looks like when it was served to them but I think that taste memory is even more important. You know, this is a fine dining restaurant, but I like to be very simple. So I let the ingredients speak for themselves. I have them plated neatly so that you can see what they are and so that you can see that we're treating the ingredients with respect. Here at Bacchus, I want the ingredients to have a bit more of a showcase. I want you to see what they are. I want you to be a little bit more visually stimulated. We show a little bit more surface area with the white of the plate, which also draws in the contrast between the food. That's the goal, is that you want to draw them into it, and then as soon as they dig into that dish, the artistic visual sense of it is pretty much gone, because you know you're moving things around and everything, so then you're going from visual to taste.
Now it's time to catch up with John McGivern.
He's at the Rep with another Milwaukee First.
I saw in the season brochure that Milwaukee Repertory Theater was doing Laurel and Hardy at the Stacker Cabaret to open their season. And I thought, a two-man show, how easy is this? Let's go see how easy it isn't, okay? Come on.
I'm happy to have the opportunity to talk with Laura Gordon. Laura Gordon is the director of Laurel and Hardy. People who sit in your audience have no idea the work that goes into it.
Well, and I think, you know, you look at a little play and you say, oh, it's Laurel and Hardy, it's two characters, you know, it's in the Stacker Cabaret, how hard can it be? Trust me, there are so many elements involved. It's not only getting the play itself right, but like the iconic nature of those characters. We have to be true to who those guys were. Working out the physical bits is time consuming. It's really time consuming. And then there's singing as well. I don't have a good answer for how it all comes together. It just kind of does. I think if you get the right people in the room and you're listening to each other, that collaboration can really happen.
This is the hub. And hey, Mark, how are you? This is the guy that, aren't you the guy that runs the place?
Allegedly.
Hi, Mark Clements.
Hi, Joe.
Good to see you. Thanks for having us in. Mark Clements. Hold on one second. Look at Milwaukee Rep Theater costumes for Laurel and Hardy. Let's get a little preview. Nothing. Should be an interesting production. I'm in the Flest Hall, which is the rehearsal hall for Laurel and Hardy. They're going to have to do this so many times before they put it up in front of an audience. That's why it's called work. If somebody were to say, why should I come see this show, what would you tell them?
Bill Tyson's in it.
And I'd say Jaron Nugent's in
You
it.
guys are killing me.
No, I would say, I think it's such an homage to the men.
It's touching at times, and it's funny, and I think Laurel and Hardy fans will find little nuggets that they remember word for word and moment to moment. And then people who kind of remember and kind of haven't discovered them yet might go be watching these movies after this.
It's a really charming look at these two men's lives, and it's very funny, and it's got some great music in it, and it's the American premiere of the show, which I think is really an important thing. The first time it's being produced in our country, so, you know, I'm sure people from all over the United States are flocking to see it. No, but I mean, it really is. It's delightful to, you know, to have this piece here. There's an awful lot of local talent in Milwaukee. I think there's an amazing amount of local talent in Milwaukee. And I think it's just kind of a tribute to that you could find the cast and the director and many of the designers for the show locally. And I think that just speaks volumes about what we have here in Milwaukee.
And it's a musical as well.
I'd say it's a play with music, but there's quite a bit of music. And it's lovely music of the period when they were doing their pieces. And many are direct songs that they did in their films.
Everybody who's who is on the wall. Hello.
Hey, excuse me. Aren't you one of the bosses?
Absolutely.
Dawn Helsing-Walters, Managing Director, Milwaukee Rep. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
We'll see you again.
Yeah.
She's one of the bosses. I'm pretty. We are in the costume stock in the 5th floor in the Milwaukee Rep. And we're here talking with Rachel Laritz, who is the costumer for Laurel and Hardy. It's a two-man show, so really easy. 2 costumes, and you are out of town. Is that how it works?
I wish. You know, we have a bunch of classic looks for the 2 of them, but then they also each play
multiple characters. So there's a bunch of different hats or accessories that we've added for each of those characters. I mean, it's weeks of research and preparing and shopping and getting ready for it.
Laurel or Hardy? It's up to you. We've made our way to the 3rd floor. We're here at the prop shop with Jim Guy, who is the prop master.
Actually, you would think that with only 2 people in the play, there would be less stuff to handle, but that's a lie. Because they play multiple characters and they cover 30, 40 years in the course of the play, there's a lot of stuff in this play, actually, between 100 and 140, 150 individual objects that do a lot of different jobs. Some things even double still.
This is the model for Laurel and Hardy. I love this chair. Want to pull up a chair? Come on. Have a seat, little guy. We are now on the 1st floor. I'm here with Jim Medved, who is the charge scenic artist here at the Milwaukee Rep. We're in the paint shop. Is that what we call this?
Yes.
Yeah?
The land of dust.
The land of dust. Tell us the process of putting Laurel and Hardy up.
Well, generally what happens on any show is the show begins with a set of drawings that the scene designer generates. From those drawings, the carpenters build the scenery, then it comes over here and we paint it. With this particular show, Laurel and Hardy, this was a show that we had the most information about very early in our season when we first started. So this show's been done now for about 4.5 or 5 weeks.
We're behind the scenes, backstage of the Stackner Cabaret. All of the elements that we talked about, props, costumes, sets, have to come together where this scene will be Laurel and Hardy. Here's the directions. Drive to downtown Milwaukee, find your way to the corner of Water and Kilbourne. Go down to the parking structure, park your car, take the elevator up to the 1st floor, then find the huge escalator that will bring you to the 2nd floor. On the 2nd floor, you'll find the Milwaukee Rep Stackner Cabaret. It's a restaurant. There's 118 seats here in the Stackner Cabaret, and every seat is incredibly close to the stage. And that's how easy it isn't. What a great day. We have spent all day behind the scenes of Laurel and Hardy, and the only thing left to do, buy a ticket. I can't wait. Could I get one for Laurel and Hardy?
I'm a craftsman. I mean, that's always been, you know, and I always spend my whole life working on my craft. But being a craftsman means that you take pride in everything that you put together, and you're always looking to make it better. Not that I'm not happy with the food that I prepare, but I'm happy with the food I prepare in the moment. The next time I make it, I want it to be better.
And I do think that, you know, many chefs are great artists, you know, and the end result is that, you know, we want to destroy our works, you know, right away within 10 minutes after making it most of the time, because we want people to eat it. You know, we want people to enjoy it and remember it.
The presentation of the food is so important, and the looks of the food, the colors, the balancing of colors, textures, all of that is so important in Japanese food that how can a chef not be an artist?